Do you find it difficult to come up with content ideas for your podcast? Or perhaps you've gotten stuck during an interview with a guest where you have just nothing else to ask? Try Poddex today. Poddex is the best all-in-one podcast idea generation tool. You get everything from episode ideas to interesting conversation starters for interviews, engaging discussion topics for your live streams, and even social media content ideas. With this tool, you don't have to spend weeks trying to come up with content for an episode or unique questions for your guest. Just shuffle the cards and pick one at random, hit the record button, and get started. Now you can make better content, have more fun while at it, and get your viral moment, all with Poddex. Head over to poddex.com and use code C4C at checkout. Welcome to the Urban Educators Forum with your host, Sean Smith.
Hello, I am Sean Smith, and you are at the Urban Educator Forum. And today I am with, this is going to be a different show because I'm with my boys, my Tuesday night boys, I call them. And we're going to actually talk about some education today. Now, we talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but including education, because we all are educators in our own realm. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves first. Felipe, let us know who you are and your greatness.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sean, for hosting me and Rashard. And just Felipe Lopez Sustaita. I've known you for many, many years. I can't even remember how many years, but we've done some stuff to bring our communities together, right? 8 years.
8 years, baby. As soon as I walked on the campus of LCC, I might tell that story in my intro. The legend of Felipe Lopez.
So yeah, no, just happy, man. I'm a father of 4. I'm an educator. There's a lot of roles, right? But I'm just happy to be here, bro. And the biggest thing is that I'm the son of our Heavenly Father, and that's what keeps me going. And like I said, my family. So just that.
All right. He's definitely the modest one of the group because he didn't really tell his title and all the other stuff. But we're gonna spill the tea on him a little bit later. Rashard, let us know who you are.
What up, though? Rashard Dobbins, educator, nonprofit exec. I run a wonderful organization by the name of Class Act, where we use hip hop to reach and teach scholars in the city of Detroit. Hip hop head. I make music. I DJ a little bit. But anywhere I go, I try to bring that vibe and connect people. That's one of my superpowers. So that's me. In a box, in short.
All right, man. So like I said, we go get into a little bit about.
Yeah.
But first, before we get into our topic today, because they have their connection and where they're met, and that's actually what we're talking about, the Kellogg Fellowship. But Felipe, tell us how we all got together.
Yeah. So. I met Rashard in the Kellogg Fellowship, and we connected right off, right? And it was in a spiritual realm. So, and then I have other homies, right? That and when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of isolation, right? And there was a lot of uncertainty, and so I talked to both of you and several other men, right? And we're the last 3 standing, but that was really the concept, is to support each other's projects or each other's, just struggles or whatever it was. And so that was really the setting the table, right? And so again, it's a commitment, right? Because sometimes things happen and we're all busy, But when you're committed to a mission and to something bigger than you, then you show up. But that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, just getting a bunch of men together and talking about God and about our dreams and about our struggles as men. And so many things have happened, right? George Floyd, things against immigrants. And so we talk about these things that are real and support each other. So that's kind of in a nutshell, Sean.
You did it very, Felipe gonna do his thing. Yeah, flat out. Rashard, you wanna add to that? You wanna add to that?
Man, what can I add? I would just say it's powerful, right? To have a bunch of brothers, diverse brothers who, are educators. As we know, Sean, specifically for us, for Black male educators, it's less than 3%. So to have Black and brown brothers come together as family and be those change agents, and then support one another. I mean, we have a movement on our hands, and to Felipe's point, some other brothers that have been involved, but when it comes to us, right, we know who's going to show up every weekly, and that's powerful, man. That's powerful, because I feel like everything is designed to kind of have us independent or at one another, if you will. So the fact that we all come together and support each other, and in many different ways, man. I mean, it's what the man said.
All right, like I said, we are definitely the last men standing in that group. But hey, it is what it is. And like I was saying before, Felipe and I met at the college that we work at. And Felipe, before I actually seen the physical Felipe, he was a legend. I'm going to these professional developments, and they talking about this guy. Okay, Felipe, he's doing this great work, and if it wasn't for Felipe, I wouldn't be here. And I'm seeing all this stuff, and I ain't never saw it. And we work across the mall from each other on campus, and I didn't see him until Baltimore, Maryland. That's a whole entirely different story. But we're gonna get into our talk about the Kellogg Fellowship. That's where they met, and they're gonna tell us a little bit about what it is, what did they do, and what did they pull from this experience? Because it's a deep experiment, and I want to look at it from the lens of they selling it to me. What would I like about this? Participate in the fellowship if I made it and things like that. So they're gonna go from that lens, and I'll spill the tea on them too at the end. Because anything that you haven't experienced there's gonna be some good, bad, and ugly. So but they're gonna tell about their experience and what it is. What did you do with it? And then just talk about your perspective of what did that experience do to you. So whoever want to start first, that's fine.
Go ahead, Rashard.
Man, so just break down the experience.
First, tell us what it is.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the fellowship is, essentially, I'll give I'll alley-oop it to you in a second, Felipe, but I'll just give the baseline. I mean, it's the most diverse room you've ever been in, is what it is. Filled with, 80 change agents from around the nation, and our nation's hotspots when you're talking about racial healing, racial equity, having areas that have an abundance of working families, and areas that need equitable community. But essentially, just imagine the most diverse room you've been in your life, with 80 people who are, I should say 79, including myself, right? So 80 altogether, that are just breathtaking, right? Their rap sheet, as far as their resumes, is like a scroll. What they're doing in their neighborhoods, in their cities, and for their state is just phenomenal. Anybody you can imagine, any sector that you can imagine, with the common goal of serving kids, and building an equitable community.
All right. Felipe, you want to add to it?
Yeah, there's so much to say about what Rashard just said. But something that was very impactful for me is, in society, we all always think we know what a leader looks like. And yes, we had people in the room that were, Secretary of State, they were senators in their prospective states. But there was also people that had been in prison, right? And there had been, tribal leaders from indigenous communities. There was, people like Rashard who had rough beginnings, right? Moving from city to city, school. And then somehow, me and Rashard, we put our application, over 1,000 people applying, and they select 80 of us, right? It's incredible, right? Because it's a very competitive, application process. There's interviewing process. There's people being flown out. So it's something that I know both of us were very humble to be part of, but we also
Absolutely.
knew that we belong, that we belong there, and that nobody could take that away because our experiences matter. And so, just to add to what Rashard, said, it's important. I mean, there was folks that were Jewish, African American, everything, man. You name, all communities in one space, and that's a beautiful thing and powerful.
Times two, and like you said, multiple tribal leaders, multiple people of every denomination, and all tribes represented. Right? It was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in this, you have these educators or these community leaders participate in this fellowship. What did you do, and how long did you do it?
Good question, because we were in the middle of the pandemic, so it got extended. So initially, it was supposed to be 18 months, but as you can imagine, everything was extended due to the pandemic, which I think for us was really a blessing. I know for me it was a blessing, to have an extended amount of time with my brothers and sisters in this fellowship. And the most important, one of the most pivotal and important times in our world's history and all of our histories. And to be with, this group of Avengers, I mean, I feel like that's you can't really write a better story than that, right? If you got to go into battle, if you got to address, some of the most pressing issues of our time, I want to go into it, and build projects and serve with individuals that, are truly about their communities, care for their communities, but understand how collaboration works and are willing to do it together. So, it's supposed to be 18 months, but it was almost, 2.5 years almost. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, it was an extended time, but it was necessary, right? Because like I said before, when they select all these individuals, there's a price, right, that you have to pay. That when the pandemic hit, we our kids were looking at us, right? What are you gonna do in your state, right? What are you gonna I don't know for Rashard. I know Rashard was busy, helping, because he's directly, impacting the young kids there in Detroit and in Georgia. For me, I was having to be the voice for the Latin community, right? That language barrier that, all this stuff is being put out in English and not in Spanish, and having a direct voice with the governor advising her to be able to provide not only for the Latinx community, but for our brothers and sisters that, Middle Eastern, Asian communities. So it came at a very important time. And I truly believe, that God, put us there for a reason, because, we just needed to be there, right? And so all the trainings, right? And I'm sure Rashard will talk about this, but we were given coaches that helped us, right? Professional coaches, something that I had never experienced. And here I was, being blessed with something that I don't think I deserved. But, you know, like I said, there's a price to pay every time. And so all those coachings and all those assessments, leadership assessments, helped when I needed it the most, because if I wasn't at my best and if I hadn't sharpened my iron, I would not be ready, right, for this pandemic. So
Exactly.
and this fellowship really helped, man. And again, Rashard, I don't know how it helped you, but I know that you could lean on somebody, right? If you're struggling, and you could call someone.
Yeah, accountability. I think, if I'm being honest, us being on the podcast right now is a testament to our experience, right? And then still meeting weekly, like since it, you know, from the pandemic even until now, or the beginning of the pandemic rather, until now. But for us, obviously, that relationship started, and we've still been in constant communication. So I feel like, you know, if we were to, like, I know we're going to talk about it more, but I would say from point A to point B, that right there, right, is based on relationships, building meaningful relationships within the cohort. But then, of course, you know, discovering a model to really have equitable development and communication with your own community, because everyone that was there was already doing great work. But then, you know, being given, we'll say, a blueprint or a framework to work from, you know, to really tailor and make it to the work that you're already doing, make it your own, and to improve what you're already doing, just took, I think, everyone to another level. You know, many people, you know, started their own consulting businesses or decided to change jobs and careers and things like that. So, I mean, just a very powerful experience when you think about the length of time and the connection. I can't stress that enough, is the connection and the collaboration.
Was there a tangible project that you all completed? I know y'all got a lot of training. Was there a tangible project that you all worked on together or in parts? Because I believe it was broken up by cities, right? If my little research brought out anything, was there a tangible project? Because you talked about the culture, you talked about the experience. Was there a tangible project that you all finished or started, or was it more like a think tank and you just thought about some things? Either one.
Man, I would say the project was us, man, to be real. You know, yes, we worked on things. Yes, we had a think tank. But honestly, for me, the answer would be we were working on ourselves, the way that we work in groups, and then just who we are. You know, I learned so much. You know, I think for me, as somebody who is an extrovert, and I love to connect with people. I'm really charismatic in my interpersonal relationships and just in general. For me, it taught me how to really step back and lead from different, you know, vantage points, if you will. So I feel like, you know, the biggest project we worked on was ourselves and what we're going to be doing for the next, you know, 20 years. Because I think no matter what career, what sector, what project anyone's doing, this you know, this is a seed that's producing fruit in all of our lives, and it's been doing that ever since. So for me, that would be my answer. Is really the project in many ways was us.
Yeah, and I'll just add, Sean, is that we were assigned, right, to a project. We did work with other leaders, and I think that's something, you know, from Rashard's point, is that sometimes when you put in a bunch of leaders, it's really hard, bro. So you have to learn patience. And I think for everybody, right? Because when you select the best of the best from the country, right, to lead, you're gonna get a lot of talent, man. And sometimes you have to, like Rashard says, you have to have intuition to step back, to pull in, or to do that, right? And again, you only learn it when you're a bunch, you know, when you're there with a bunch of lions and lionesses, right, that are phenomenal, right? And so you learn techniques to sometimes just don't say nothing, just, because there's a lot of wisdom. And so you lose an opportunity when you talk too much, right? Sometimes when, I say God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and that's to listen more than anything. And so, those are things that I learned as well. But again, yeah, there was a tangential project, but because of the pandemic, it kind of threw off the original plans. But we were still able to, to complete something, and it's still right. It's still in progress,
Okay.
which is us.
What was the project based on, real quick?
Yeah, so the project was based on little kids, right, telling their own story without any, because a lot of times our communities, I'm a farm worker. I grew up as a migrant worker, so I have very few pictures. So if you were to tell me, hey, Felipe, can you show me pictures? I might have 5 of my entire childhood. I just don't have any pictures. So what we were trying to do as a group is for kids, to send them a camera, take pictures of their daily life, and to be able to tell their story, right? And that was a project for them to, in their who they are, right? Because when they're little, they don't know, but to be who they are. And that's what we wanted. We wanted them to tell their story. We wanted to create this event where we invited a ton of people and people could tell. Again, the pandemic hit, we weren't able to do that. So what we did was, as a group, we selected books, right, that represented our heritage, because there's not a lot of, book for Black boy and girls, Latino, boys and girls, or Asian, Native American. There's not a lot. So what we were trying to do is create a library. And Rashard, if I missed something, please.
No, yeah, I'll just say, just to build on our build with Felipe, it was grounded in the kids. It was grounded in, once again, that equitable community piece, and looking at things from an abundance standpoint instead of a lack standpoint, which is more empowering, right? We know what's going on in our urban cores. We know what's going on throughout the world, really, especially when we're talking about along racial lines and the legacy of white supremacy. So, at the end of the day, it was rooted in equity. It was rooted in the babies. It was rooted in building with community, instead of going in there and acting like we know, we have all the answers. It was truly, treating it as communities already have the answers. They just need some resources. They just need some help from time to time. But it's not our place to go in there and say you need a park when you really need a food pantry. So that was really the vibe, and just empowering the youth and empowering the community to say, hey, what do you need? What do you want to show? How can your voice be amplified? How can it be empowered?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, man, these all I can do is put my hands out. These my boys, my Tuesday night boys, and they letting it flow today. They letting it flow today. I know them, and I know some of the stories that they have told me. They told me the good, bad, and the ugly. What hit you? And this is definitely personal to them. What hit you the hardest, the most in your spiritual walk, as far as the experience that you did? Because I know y'all been places. I know that you all experienced different speeches and things like that. We also gonna talk about that book that Rashard made us read that was boring, but that's another thing. We read it, we got through it. We read it, got through it. But that's another thing. But goodness. spiritually, because I know y'all are very spiritually connected. That's how we all got together. What hit you? What had the biggest impact on you spiritually? When you walked into it or you saw it, you said, "Man, this is something else."
That's a deep question.
You want me to go, Rashard?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think on that one. That's a deep one.
You got a couple minutes. You got a couple of seconds. Go ahead.
So for me, Sean, it was the trips that we took. It was, going to the reservation with one of our Kellogg Fellows. It was, being in Mississippi and learning about, Emmett Till and visiting a lot of historic centers, but one of our classmates, her father's an icon, right? In the civil rights movement that, and to me, knowing her and then being at the house where her father was assassinated was really deep. Being in Chicano Park, right, and feeling like my roots were there and my heart was there, and even though I had never been there, those experiences, I would never forget for the rest of my life. Like, it taught me, and it was a spiritual thing, man, because I think I needed to be there, right? Especially when a pandemic hits, nobody prepares you for that. But when I went to those places that I mentioned, I felt like I got ran over by a truck. And so it was like a preparation. So spiritually, I mean, and I can go on and on and on, but being in those spaces and like feeling the pain, right? I think that really shook me to my core. And I'm very appreciative for that. That's it.
Man, I would say the thing that's top of heart and top of mind for me is really this mantra of movements beating moments. And as Felipe said, going to Chicano Park, we went to New Mexico, we were in Mississippi. We were able to like literally see what other organizers and, amazing human beings were doing all throughout the nation. Not to mention there was a national cohort that's a part of the regional ones, right? Where they're essentially borderless, right? They have ties everywhere. So you bring these individuals together who already do their own projects. Then we're traveling all around the country doing other projects of note. It was just insane to see because, as you mentioned, Mississippi, Mississippi gets so much flack, and sometimes rightfully so, right? It's a very interesting checkered past. However, when something works in Mississippi, it works almost everywhere, right? We got the chance to view the Cocoa Center. We got the chance to walk through the Everest home. Not that that's a good thing because we know how that story ends, but what's beautiful is the legacy, not only that he leaves, but that his whole entire family leaves. And it's one of resilience that to see it up close and person, for one of my cohort mates to be who she already is, let alone who her father is and the legacy that she comes from, but just what she's doing alone. And then to see the power, right, of Rena Evers walking us through her family home, right, we're pointing out where bullets were flying, her walking us through that experience with tears in her eyes, and then has the strength, right, the supernatural, you talk about supernatural strength, because I actually was one of the last people to walk through the house. We did a tour that, it's a lot of us, it's 80 plus when you factor in other individuals part of the program as a whole. And, she has the strength, the decency, the love, that next level umph in her, right, to hug me and whisper, beautiful words of affirmation to me, right? As I'm walking through your family home, where that's a tragic site that is now thankfully a historical site, right? Where we're able to tell the legacy of this amazing man, Medgar Evers, right? Who oftentimes is overlooked, but is a true national hero, right? If there ever was one, he's in that canon, right, at the very top. So to have experiences like that, to meet people like that is just, it does something different to you. It is different for sure. But I think, just having that opportunity to go around the nation, and once you start to realize the world is bigger than whatever neighborhood, state that you operate from, and to see how they do things and to see their challenges and to compare notes, I think it makes anything that you're doing global, and that's a powerful thing.
All right. All right. Y'all made me want to go almost, almost. So, but like I said, I know you all feel that. And when you all in there, and I first before we go, I want to thank you all for coming out. Usually we was gonna do it on our Tuesday night, but we did our Tuesday night regular, and then we came. And the brother said they'll do it on Wednesday night. So this is for the C4 challenge. Um, we're gonna probably do some more. I'm gonna probably try to grab them again, because like I said, we live education. We are education. Our calling is in education, in different realms, different techniques and places, but we do it. So the last question I'm going to ask you are, what is some takeaways that you got from the program, and what is your next step? What did it inspire you to do, or you're going to do, or continue to do from that project? So however y'all want to do it first. So a takeaway, some takeaways, and what's your next step? And if you have any places that you want to shout out, social media, things like that, you can do that as well.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
big fella.
Rashard.
No, you got it, man.
This is how they act. This is how they act when we got to pray at the end. We always push it up on another one. So this is par for the course.
I almost want to brag on this guy, but I just kind of want to hang back and see if he's gonna.
You want me to? I could do it.
I want you to go just so I'll make sure you cover everything that you're doing, man, because it's a lot, bro.
Okay, no. Some of the takeaways, Sean, was that we can't do this alone, right? I mean, when you go to war, when you think of Dr. King, when you think of Cesar Chavez, when you think of Gandhi, when you think of people in your neighborhood that nobody knows, did not do it alone, right? And so it really takes a village. And people don't want to see this, right? What we're doing right now. They don't want to see this. And so that was a huge takeaway, is that we're better together than we are separated. And I have a book coming out in about 2 months, and it's decolonizing, right? Telling our own story. Because if we let others tell it, they're gonna tell whatever they want to. And so I want to make sure that that when my grandkids read the book, 40, 50 years from now, they're like, man, I know exactly how my grandpa felt. I know what he was going through. I know the struggles, and I know why I'm here, right? And why spiritually I'm here, doing what I have to do. So I think arming my kids, really, that's what it is. That's the reason I wrote it, is to arm them with that they're blessed, right? That I'm already praying for them, right? And they're not even born yet. So there's a lot of takeaways, but I just appreciate both of you, right, for accountability. Felipe, are you done with your book? Are you what's up, right? And so again, you can never get things done alone. You need people holding you accountable, right? And so just blessed that God gave me that opportunity. And what's next? Hey man, we're just getting started, bro. So I don't know what's next, but whatever it is, it's exciting. I know I'm getting my black belt here in April in Taekwondo. So I don't know, man, jiu-jitsu maybe, going for a black belt. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? So, but I'll pass it over to Rashard.
Yeah, I just had to make sure you went there, because I know these things. So I was gonna put you on blast if you didn't.
I was, but I was, man. But all right, got it written down on this pad. But go ahead,
because he don't like to share all the time. But man, takeaways. I mentioned it. Movements be their moments. Looking at change like the Avengers, and the second movie, not the first one, because oftentimes I think we get stuck on that first Avengers movie where it's all these wonderful superheroes and people who have innate superpowers, and they have all this amazing experience, but they're clashing because they're not focused on what the Thanos is in our society. And I think, you know, for all of us, because we talk about it, right? Every 7 days, if not, you know, in between that, right? Every 7 days, we know the Thanos of our society, right? We're all about fighting white supremacy. We're all about equity. We're all about healing. We're all about, you know, equality. So I would say, yeah, looking at the work is movements beating moments. And then to Felipe's point, right? When we look at Dr. King, when we look at the Panthers, when we study movements, we realize that, yeah, you are able to, you know, take the woman or the man out of it, right? Unfortunately, many of the people we just named were assassinated, but the movement that they're a part of is able to continue, you know. And I just think about Dr. King saying, hey, I might not get there with you, but we're going to get there. And I think it's something powerful, you know, when you sit down and you build with others like they did at the Cultural Center, right? Descending to Mississippi because Emmett Till was murdered, right? And they said, yo, we got to put us out to this. So, you know, we need one another. I think, you know, my biggest takeaway is that we all need each other, and that when we're talking about doing things, especially around racial healing, you know, white supremacy is really it throws a rock and hides its hand. But when it comes to being divisive within community and family structures, you know, it's been really clear and consistent throughout. We already know, especially if we're talking about black and so-called black and so-called brown men, we know what those prison statistics look like, right? When we know about statistics for our children in the schools, especially us, we know what that looks like. We know what it looks like for the women in our community, right? The lionesses in our community who run things. And yeah, it takes a village. That'd be my biggest takeaway, man. And we need each other, and we have to do everything within our power to unite and to, you know, be at full strength together. And then as far as things that we're working on, I was inspired to do what we call House of Hip Hop, which is a permanent home for cultural to preserve cultural practices, specifically within hip hop culture. So hip hop has 5 main elements that we speak to, and House of Hip Hop will provide artist studios, creative studios, co-working space, performance space within the city of Detroit. And it's being built, designed, informed by children in our community. So when you talk about something that's building something that's sustainable, you know, we always hear that children are the future, but they're the now. And what we're doing and what I was inspired to do, you know, through the fellowship is to say, okay, cool. Continue doing what we've been doing, which has always been youth-led and youth-centered, but even more so, let us, you know, truly put the money and the decision-making in their hands, because when we're looking out 25, 50 years, 100 years from now, it's the youngsters that are going to run it, right? So, you know, the whole goal is to create a promised land now, but to also get there, you know, in the future. So that's what we're working on, you know.
All right. And I'm glad Felipe talked about the book.
Yep.
Rashard will actually be a featured guest on the Dripping in Black podcast, which is coming out February 22nd. You know, so he's going to tell his story on that platform. So be on the lookout for that as well. This is my tribe. You know, when I first wrote Urban Educator Forum moniker, it was about the tribe, and this is a part of my tribe because Tuesday nights, we done argued, we done laughed, we done everything that you could possibly think of the brothers gonna do when they get together, you know, and we have a good time. We ended in prayer. They ain't the best texters in the world because, you know, I need a little bit more than they do because, you know, they know my situation, so, you know, I need a little bit more than they do, but they need to text a little bit more often, you know, just to let me know that they're doing all right, or I haven't done something crazy over here. So that's about it. The Kellogg Fellowship to, what is it? Is you all the second class, I believe. The second class, they did their graduation. Felipe Lopez Rashard Dobbins, aka part of the tribe. And they said it, the thing is, get you a tribe. And, there's people that's doing the same thing, or, going to be a ligature effect for you that's going to put it together. That's all we putting together. If you need to contact us, please do so. Look in the show notes. You will see all our contact information. So for Felipe and Rashard, unless y'all got some shout outs before I end it, y'all good?
Man, just thank you very much, Rashard, for being a trailblazer, man. Like I said, I mean, very few places where you can see this, right? And again, we're planting seeds, right? We're planting seeds, man. Society doesn't want this, but we're gonna give it to them anyways, right?
Straight up. Yeah.
All right. If all hearts and minds are clear, from the tribe, peace and much love. Be well,
Peace.
and we see you next time on the Urban Educator Forum podcast. Peace.
Hey, good job, Sean.